Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Sorry, I was having some trouble getting my screen up on the correct screen, but now we're good. My name is Jamie Smith, and I am an Autodesk AEC application specialist here at MicroCAD, and I will be presenting the MicroCAD AutoCAD productivity tools to you guys today. Now, this is a great tool set that we offer that you can purchase from us singly or as part of our support package. And I'm going to go through a lot of the great details that these tools offer. Some of the different categories that include these tools are different selection tools, modification, geometry, some different text techniques that you can do that are much different than what you're used to with out-of-the-box AutoCAD, as well as some annotation tools, open folder, which sounds very basic, but it's actually a really great tool that is unique just to these productivity tools. Some layout tools, output, copy to clipboard, again, sounds very basic, but it's really cool once I show you how that one works, and then some calculation techniques as well, just through these tools. So the best way for me to show these is just to open up AutoCAD and dive right in. So that's usually how I get started. So the first thing, and just for the sake of time, because I've done this a couple times and I always go over time, so I'm going to jump around to what tools I feel are the best and most productive. And then, of course, if you have questions about anything else, as you saw, my email address is on that slide. It's just jsmith@microcad3d.com. And if you have any other questions that come up after the fact, definitely let me know and we can address those later. So the first one that I want to show you is in the selection panel up here called the selection filter. So if I go ahead and click on that, I get a dialog box that opens up. And what this is telling me is every single item that I have in my drawing. And of course, this is a pretty small drawing, but it's just this one classroom floor plan layout here, but you can see there's still a lot of objects in here. And this is a great way to kind of audit your drawing and see what's going on in it, make sure that everything looks, as you expect it to. You can drill down by clicking the plus sign on the side for what encompasses all of those different layers. So right now, like, this is broken up by layer because of the grouping up here. But if I click up here by type, then it breaks it down by actual object type. So then I can even break this down further and see what objects are on what layer. Now this is a very, finite level of detail that you may not necessarily need, but there's always times where you need to filter down, and maybe if your drawing's not acting the way that you expect it to, certain things can, if they're acting funny, this is a good way to just kind of give yourself a good overview of what's happening within your drawing. And right there, I just changed it to by type and layer. So this is another option as well. It'll drill down from your basic object type and then drill down to your layers. And then from there, you can see exactly what's living on each layer. So this is a great tool. And then what you can also do with this as well is if you click on one of these check boxes here, you can actually have it select what's happening in your drawing. So I'm going to do a couple of things. Not going to do the line, obviously, that's going to be the biggest count there, but we'll just do some M text and then block reference layer and see what we get. So if I click OK, great. So it selected this block reference of a chair and a plotter and the M text that I selected, and that's exactly what I expected that it would. So just a great way to do some quick selecting. I think it's a lot more user-friendly compared to AutoCAD's quick select option, which I think is what they were trying to improve by creating that. So the next option that I'm going to talk about here is the select elements on layer. So if I click on this one, I'm going to click on a couple of lines here. So I just clicked on the command, I clicked on a line, and then when I hit enter, what that does is it highlights every single object on that layer. So it's very convenient, similar to like lay ISO or something like that, but it doesn't actually isolate the layer. All it does is just select it for you. So it's a much faster way of selecting a mass amount of items on a layer. So that's how its criteria is set up, is by the layer. So I like that one. And I'm going to jump across. I'm going to jump over to these two are kind of straightforward and basic, and you could definitely try them out. But just to kind of give a brief overview, the show X data will show you any data associated with an object. So if you had any annotation or external data that you had associated to a block, it would show you the information on that. And then the spreadsheet properties would allow you to view the properties of an object in a spreadsheet format. But I'm going to jump to the Align tool because this one's really great. I'm going to draw an example really quickly for this. And just like the Align tool that already exists in AutoCAD, this one's similar, but it's much more user-friendly in my opinion. If I'm going to draw a quick line here. And I'm going to add a rectangle. And let's say, I drew this angle here, this line at an angle, and I didn't necessarily specify an angle. I don't really know if it actually, it may have locked onto a 45, but for all I know, let's pretend I don't know what the angle is. And I just want this object here to align to that line angle, whatever that one may be. And really quickly, my layout tabs at the bottom tend to make my screen jump, so I'm just going to turn those off so that I don't have that problem. So what I do is I just click on the Align tool first up here, and it's asking me to select objects. So I'm going to select the object first, hit enter, and then pick a guideline. So I could just pick this line, or the other option here, the linked option down here is 2 points. So I'm going to actually click that one too, so 2 points. And then I would do the start point of this line to the end point of the line. And I would click on, let's say I wanted to align the bottom edge right to the edge of that line. So I would do this option here. And then the key here is to do rotate objects, and then it will actually rotate along that angle line. Click OK. You can see how useful that would be in so many different situations. I know, for example, if you're ever working in a landscape plan, a lot of objects in there can be at, very odd angles, and, everything's, very organic in a landscape plan. It's, according to the earth in most cases. So having the ability to do something like this just saves you a lot of time, and trying to mess with the rotate tool. It picks the guidelines for you, so it makes things go a lot faster. So love that tool for that reason. The next thing that I want to jump to are actually in a different drawing. Some of the great annotation tools that I was talking about. These tools are just incredible for adding annotation and different data to your drawing. So right here, I'm going to start with this label elevation tool. And I'm going to pick my first point. So when I pick this first point, it's like I'm saying, this is the elevation starts at 0 here, and then anything below it would be negative, anything above it would be positive. So I'm going to say that this is our base elevation here. So I'm just going to click that point. So I'm going to say, if I wanted to change that to from 500, I can make that a different elevation point to in the settings. I'll show you that in 1 second, but since I'm already going along, I'll show you how the tool works. So if I click down here, now, like I said, everything in the negative direction or the downward direction is going to show up less than 500. So I could just keep clicking along this line and get very precise elevation points. Now, if I pop into my settings here, and I wanted to make the, this is for the, that's for the actual label, sorry. This would be editing for the actual label itself. To make it either smaller or bigger. Right now the scale factor is at 1, which I think is a pretty good size, obviously depending on what you're scaling your drawing at. And then the number of decimal digits, you would want to specify that as well. I just have 2 in here as the default. Now to specify the base, like I was saying, right now I said I have it set to 500, but this would be where I would want to specify maybe 0 or something. I can take that in. So now if I did my point here, oops, we've got 2 going on here. So that would go, now it's going in the negative direction because I set 0 as my base point, and anything below that's going to go into the negative direction. So again, a very accurate way to specify elevation on any plan that we have. Again, this could be really useful on a landscape plan as well, or an elevation of anything. So The next one I want to talk about is the Polyline Wipeout tool. This one's really convenient for adding just a very quick wipeout to any polyline that you might have. So you might be familiar with the wipeout tool as it refers to text. If you had a text box maybe over a hatch and you wanted the text to have a opaque or a transparent background, then it would you could add that to text, but this allows you to do it with a polyline. So I have this object here that I have drawn. I have this polyline. Again, this only works with polyline, so you have to make sure you have an actual polyline drawn. But if I grab the Polyline Wipeout tool up here, the offset value, so you want to think about this as in what direction it's offsetting, to the left or to the right. So I just have an offset value of 1 set here, and you'll see there's some actually really cool things that we can do. If we don't love the way it offsets, we can adjust it later. So I'm just going to hit enter, and then I'm going to draw a wipeout area where I want this to go. So then once I click the 2 points, then I get a little wipeout box that's showing up. And this would be really nice in situations where you have a lot of lines overlapping each other. Maybe you just want a little bit of a distinction as to which line is on the top of, above something else. So this gives you a good way to do that. And then I can actually select that wipeout and change it. So I have the ability to adjust it if one, the unit of 1 was too thick. I can just make this a lot thinner by adjusting a little. I mean, you could even, you could drill down pretty small if you wanted to make it a little bit thinner. So you have a couple of options there if you wanted it to just look really clean. Again, this is a great tool if you have, a lot of different things going on in your drawing and things are layered on top of one another. This just makes everything, a lot cleaner and neater for you. And then the next feature that I'm going to talk about in the Annotate tab is the block legend. Now this legend is so cool. I think this is probably my favorite tool in here, just because it's something I think, and you'll probably agree with me, something that you've always wished you had the ability to do, but it just never existed. So this is a quick way to make that happen. So I am going to click on the block legend tool, and then what this is telling me is this is all of the blocks that I have in my drawing. So it does a sweep of every block that you have. And then if I didn't want all of these blocks to show up, I'm not really sure what this is, but if I didn't want anything to show up, I can just simply uncheck it, and then it's only going to show what I have checked, which is really great. Now if I click OK, I'm going to click to place this block legend, and then it shows me exactly what I thought, what would spit out from that checkbox there. So all the different objects that I have in here, and again, this is all relating to this object that I have over here. So super, super easy way to create a legend. You can also edit this too. So if you wanted like in this case, I have connector 1 and 2, maybe I'd want to specify that. Same with these valves. Maybe I want to make them a more specific name. And this is a regular table. So you can even add data rows and columns to the table if you wanted to. It's really, really easy to update that table just like you would anything else. And then the other legend that's available is a hatch legend, and I love this one too because it's super, super functional. It functions the same way as the block legend, and again, you can just select which hatches you want to be visible. And then, so I'm just going to click OK and click to place this. Now, one thing that you might notice, and this is kind of goes across the board with AutoCAD, not much that we can really do about it, but the scales are somewhat off. But there is a way to fix that. So what the hatch legend creator will do is it will kind of just pick a default hatch that it thinks hatch scale that it'll think looks the best, but it may not always be. It might compare to what you actually have your legend, your hatches scaled to at that time, but it may not necessarily look great when it's, cropped into this little box. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this. I'm going to grab the hatch legend command again. And then over here, you'll notice that there's a scale option. So most of these looked pretty good, but I think what I want to do is make them probably a little bit larger. That might work. And this is kind of how how you mess with it. You can just kind of see what you think will work best. But let's say I make this one a scale of 3. And then actually what's kind of cool is as you double click down the line, it will update the scale to the line above it. So that might not be what you want, but it's convenient if it is. So if I click OK, let's see if that did anything. No, it didn't really change it too much, but and I'm not going to keep playing with it, but just so you know, that is an option that you can do that. So you can change, you know, kind of finagle the scales of the hatches just to make them look a little bit better. And then, of course, I'm not going to go over this one just because it's very similar, but there's a line type legend as well, which you can add to all the line types that you may have in your drawing. The next thing I want to talk about is some of these calculation tools that I was mentioning before. There is a sum of text, and what this one will do is give you the sum of any text boxes that you have in your drawing, and of course they would have to be numerical sums. But if I click on sum of text, and then I'm going to click these couple of text boxes that I have here, and then once I've selected everything that I need, I hit enter, and then I can click anywhere on the drawing, and that gives me my total. So it looks good. 36 was the total of all of those drawings. And this comes in as a single line text, just so you know, it doesn't come in as multi-line. I think these ones, yeah, these ones are set up as multi-line text. So it does come in as a single line text, but you know, you can always change single line text to multi-line text very easily with the, I think it's the text to mtext, or mtext, yeah, this command here, text to mtext command will convert any single line text to multi-line text if you needed it to be so. And then some of the other components that we have in here that I don't really have set up to do right now. Well, I can show this create viewport one. It's more so this one, the rename sheets, but I'll go through exactly what that is. So if I click on create viewport, what this does is this allows us to create a viewport in a much different way than we're used to. You're actually creating the viewport from a model space as opposed to paper space. So you'll notice if I'm in model space now, it asks me a couple of parameters. I'm just going to leave everything as is for now. It does ask me what layout it wants me to move this to, so that's pretty cool. It tells me, you know, it lets me do that right up front. I can set the scale of it right there too. And you can also check or uncheck to lock the viewport. I always like to lock it just because it's one less thing to worry about if you get stuck inside of it and ruin your scale and everything like that. So it's one less thing for you to have to worry about. So if I click OK, and then now I'm given the ability to, okay, my screen, sorry, it's really big. I was like, where is the box? So the box for this is really, really large, but again, it was probably because of the scale that I had selected, and then what I have drawn in my plan is probably pretty small. So I'm going to go ahead and just center my box here. And then what it does, I love this, it brings me right to my the layout tab that I specified. Again, I turned my layout tabs off because it was jumping around, but I'm in layout 1, and it brings me, you know, right to exactly what I specified I wanted my viewport to look like. So it grabbed everything that was in there. I think that's really cool because we're usually used to creating our layouts on paper space, and you know, you have to kind of finagle it once you're in paper space to get it to position correctly. But when you're kind of doing this from the other way, it just gives you a little bit more control over what you're actually going to spit out on the other side on your layout tab. So, and then the next thing that I'm going to go back, sorry, to my paper space here. And then the next thing I want to talk about, this one's really great, but you have to have a sheet set up. So if you work in sheet sets and you have your drawing set up that way, and you've probably been there as I have, where you have a whole sheet set, you know, with probably about 20 drawings in it, and something changes or the order of something changes, and you have to go in and organize every single sheet name. This gives you a very quick way to do that. So, and the process is very easy, very user-friendly. So I won't, you know, again, I don't have a sheet set up in this drawing, so I can't show it, but if you have these tools and you haven't used this yet, I think, and you're using sheet sets, I think you'll really appreciate this in a pinch when you have a lot of drawing names that you need to change. So it makes that process a lot easier. And then export XYZ. This gives you the ability to export a bunch of data to a spreadsheet format, anything like that. It would give you, very quick change over to an XYZ output drawing or output file. And then the next options here, these ones are really great too. I know I said that the block legend was my favorite, but these are also right up there with that. So the copy to clipboard and open folder, both of these panels probably sound very straightforward and simple. But what we've done with these tools is created a much easier way to access the folders in which your drawings live in. So that's something we don't really think about needing, but now that this exists, I can't imagine living without it. So if I go ahead and click on this folder option here first, what this does is it copied the drawing, and you can see this down in my command line. I'm going to open this up in my history so you can see it. So what it does is it copied the folder of where this file lives right to my clipboard. So if I ever needed to access that separately, these files just live on my desktop, but you can open up your file explorer and then paste in the location of where these live, and it will bring you right to that file. So it's super, super useful. Same with this one. So the next one down, the file option, copies and pastes it right to your clipboard. I won't show you exactly this one. It's going to be, it's the same thing, but it actually shows you, the name of this drawing and then where it lives on your machine. And this is really helpful, I think, if you ever get a drawing sent to you from someone like an outside source, and maybe it gets stored somewhere in your temporary files or something like that. Another thing is if your drawing crashes and maybe you didn't get a chance to save it, maybe you still had it on drawing one and you hadn't had a chance to save it. This is a great way to navigate to exactly where that file happens to be living on your machine. The next panel here, the open folder. This one kind of works the same way as these ones, but it'll actually open up a folder. So if I click on this DWG, this is going to open the exact location of where this drawing lives on my machine. So again, really helpful if you can't find, where your drawings are, or if you're on a shared server with a lot of other people and, you guys are using different block files or whatever the case may be. This will help kind of organize you so you know where to find all of your items. And then just to throw these in here, we also have a My Documents that you can open up to, and then you can also open up your desktop right there as well too. So those are just really easy ways to kind of drill down to any questions, any questions you might have about where your files are living or anything like that. It just keeps everything organized. So so great, that's pretty much it. I wanted to make sure I had enough time for questions because last time I did this, I had a lot of questions. So Rebecca, do we have any questions on here?
I don't see any coming in yet, but if everyone wants to type in their questions. One question that we do get with these tools is how to get them, if they're included, questions basically, how to get this. So these can be purchased separately by themselves. They are an add-on. You can also get them with an annual support contract. So if you're not sure if you have them, you can send me an email. I can double check. And if you'd like a quote for it, we can send you over to your rep if you're interested in getting these tools. So hopefully that answers any possible questions for that. But if you guys have questions about any of those specific parts that Jamie was just showing, please feel free to throw them in here at the bottom right side. It should be for you guys, the little questions area, and we can get that answered for you.
Great. And then while we're waiting for more questions to come in, I wanted to discuss other webinars that we have available to you to watch, basically regarding our other productivity tools. These are now being featured monthly, so we do a lot of these, to go over, get people excited about them, but we also do them for Civil 3D and then our Revit productivity tools as well. So we offer those three options depending on what software you're using. Maybe not only AutoCAD, if you're watching this, but maybe use Revit as well. And the Revit tools, I can tell you, are amazing as well. I'm not as much well-versed on the Civil 3D ones, but I know the Revit ones, people are usually in awe at what those ones can do. And then we also have another webinar coming up for BIM 360 with Civil 3D, very specific, with the Civil 3D and how that would function in BIM 360. And then a couple other things going on here too. So, yeah, if any of those interest you whatsoever, definitely check those out when they come up. And of course, they're all online right now because that's how we do things these days. So, so you can catch them at any time. It actually makes it, more convenient. So, yeah. So, did we have anything come in, Rebecca? Are we everyone's pretty caught up?
I don't see any questions. You must have done a really great job of explaining all of it. But if anyone has questions afterwards, you can email us and we can get back to you. You guys should all have my email through the registration, that confirmation email, or you can email Jamie. Her email is right there.
All right, great. Thank you all so much, and have a great rest of your Friday and a great weekend.